All right, we are in Chapter 1, Section 6, called Solving Quadratic A equals 1. So this is just an introduction to quadratic equations. This is for Integrated Math 2 or IM2. So just like I've been starting off all the other videos, I'll kind of go through the screen here. So on your screen, when you go to a homework assignment, this is exactly what you'll see with the exception of two pieces. You will see a due date on yours. I don't see a due date on the teacher preview. They just don't put that part on there. The second part here is attempts. So this is showing me it's attempt number 1 of unlimited attempts. This means I can submit the assignment as many times as I would like and come back in and keep trying it. So we'll talk about more submission ideas here in just a second. This homework assignment has 3 questions. It will have anywhere from 1 to 10 questions on your homework assignment. So it just kind of depends on the one you're working on. Grading policy, best score means that whichever attempt is the best one is the one you get to keep. And partial credit means that if you answer one of these 3 questions, then you get credit for the one question. This is a reminder that once you start your homework, you need to finish it. What this means is once I click start here, this is the second piece that you will see on your screen that I will not see on mine. So this, down here, we should see the submit assignment button. And whether or not we've started anything, even if I wanted to leave the screen right now, I need to click that submit assignment button. Don't just leave the screen, okay? So whether or not you've started, you've done 1, you've done all 3, it doesn't matter. You always click that button. Number 1, it shows us what you've been working on, and it shows us the grade you have on it. Number 2, it won't, if you don't click that button, it'll lock you out of everything. The system actually won't let you work on any other assignments, tests, quizzes, topics. It won't let you click on anything until you come back into this assignment and click that submit button. So it's a very good habit to just get into, to just click it. All right, on the side here, we have a few tools. So the explanation button, this is telling me I'm going to lose my current question attempt because it's going to explain this question to me. So it's not just going to explain it, it's going to give me the solution and the answer. So it's not then going to say, okay, go ahead and go type in the answer. It's going to take that attempt away. I'm going to have to submit my assignment and come back in and try again to see another one. I can also click example. This doesn't take anything away at all. This just shows me a similar problem to what's going on here. So then I can complete exactly what they're asking me to do here. And it shows me how to type in my answer as well. Okay. And it might even give you some extra little pieces here like why, or at the bottom you can see there's a checking your answer. Once I'm good, I can go, okay, I'm good there. If I want another example, I can click on example again. It'll give me a brand new example. I can also message my teacher straight from this screen so that it'll attach this question to the message and your teacher will know exactly where you need your help. All right, let's go ahead and get started here. So it says factor. So we're going to factor z squared, and I cross my z's because apparently my z's and my 2's look a whole lot alike. And I can't really argue with that. I definitely can see that. Sometimes I do my 2's a little bit more bubbly, but they do look a lot alike. All right, so we are going to factor this piece. So remember, factoring means we're going to break it down into binomials when we have a trinomial. So immediately I know this is what it's going to look like in the factored form. I'm going to have a binomial times a binomial. Because I see plus and plus here, I know it's going to be plus and plus down here. So that's actually a pattern. If you pay attention to that, you can tell where you're going to have your positives and negatives. So if I had in my binomial or my trinomial, if I had a minus and a plus, well, in order to get a plus in the end and a minus in the middle, that means I would have 2 negatives. So my 2 binomials would be negative and negative. If I had, if I have a plus in the middle and a minus on the end, well, that means it's a positive times a negative here. So that end one can give you a lot of information. So if it's a positive, that could be both positives or both negatives. You have to look to the middle. If it's a positive in the middle and a positive on the end, both positives. But if it's a positive and a negative, then it means you had 2 negatives because you're multiplying 2 negatives to get that positive, but then you also have a negative here because you combine them. And then if it's a negative on the end but a positive in the middle, that's a guarantee that it's 1 positive, 1 negative. So again, I'm putting a lot of emphasis on that because it's a little pattern if you can memorize how that looks. My table's tipping over here. All right. So in order to factor this, what we want to do is look at the first term and the last term. So the first term, well, the only way to get z squared is to go z times z. So that's easy. When there's no coefficient on there, we just break it apart. It's z and z. Then I take this 20 and I say, okay, what are my factors of 20? It's 1 and 20, 2 and 10. I can't do 3, but I can do 4 and 5. So here are all my factors, my possible ways to get 20. And what I want to do is I want to figure out which one of those add up. Since it's plus and plus, they're going to add together to get 9. Well, that would be 4 and 5. So 4 and 5, and this is the factor form. So that's all they want us to do there. They don't want us to go farther and do any kind of solving because there is no equal sign yet. So z plus 4 and z plus 5. That guy is factored. Next. Whoops. Didn't mean to grab the edge there. Okay. So now we have x squared minus 3xy minus 18y squared. Okay. So this one looks a little bit more complicated because we have x's and we have y's. But we're still going to have it in this form. And now we have a minus and a minus. So that was one of the patterns I didn't say. But in order to get a minus on the end here, I know it's going to be 1 plus and 1 minus. So I'm going to be subtracting the terms of 18 instead of adding them. Because this is a negative here, it tells me the bigger term needs to be negative. So when I subtract them, I end up with a negative 3. So the only way to get x squared is going to be x and x. And then 18y squared, I know I'm going to have y and y because that's how I'm going to get y squared in the end. But I need to know the factors of 18 here to decide which ones subtract to get me negative 3. So it's going to be 1 and 18, 2 and 9, or 3 and 6. All right, well, if I subtract 6 and 3, I'm going to get 3, right? So I know this one. I just need to make sure that I do it in a way to get negative 3. So I want it to be negative 6 and positive 3, because negative 6 plus 3 gives me negative 3. So we just want to make sure we line that up correctly when we're doing that. So we have x plus 3y and x minus, dang it, x minus 6y. All right. There we go. And one more of these guys. So now we're going to factor, and we have it equaling 0, which means we can go ahead and solve it as well. So first, we get to factor this guy, just like we have in the last ones. But once we have equals 0, then we can keep moving on it. We don't stop at the factorization. So here we have our two pieces. I have a minus and a plus. If I have a plus in the end, remember it's either 2 positives to get a positive or 2 negatives. Since there's a negative in the middle, I know it's going to be 2 negatives. And I'm going to add together those middle terms, but they're both going to be negative middle terms. So w and w is how I get w squared. And then let's break down 28 here. We have 1 and 28, 2 and 14. 3 doesn't go in. That would be 27. I'm thinking of the wrong number here. But we do have 4 and 7. So if we want 11, well, that would be this guy here, because 4 plus 7 gives me 11. 4 plus 7. And it doesn't matter if I did 7 and 4. As long as they're both minus or they're both plus, it really doesn't matter where you put them. You just need to make sure that you're putting the plus and minuses in the right spot when you have that difference there. So this equals 0. So now, to finish this guy, what we need to do is set each one equal to 0, just like we did in that last lesson. So remember, if this factor times this factor equals 0, that means that one or both of them must equal 0. That's how we would get 0 there. So w minus 4 equals 0. W minus 7 equals 0. So we set the both equal to 0, and this is going to tell us where it's crossing the x-axis. That's what a solution means. So I'm going to add 4 to both sides here so I can get w all by itself because these 4's cancel. And then for this one, I'm going to add 7 to both sides. So I get w, 7's cancel, and we get 7. So w can be 4 or it can be 7, and I'm just separating that with a comma because that's what they asked me to do up here. So I'm going to go ahead and click check. And we are good to go. So that was section 6, and I will see you in section 7.